Okay, ladies and gentlemen, and everybody else around here. This is a Vox AC30HW2. It's the hand-wired one, fairly current production, fairly recent production, and it is here at the shop because it allegedly makes very little sound. I have not tested that fact myself, but a lot of loose screws here. I think there is one missing chassis bolt on the side. So this has been traveling around, probably from band practice to gig to band practice to gig. So if you own an amplifier, doesn't matter what amplifier it is, take the time every once in a while to tighten the screws, because most of these are loose, and I think the chassis might be hanging down just a smidge. I don't know that I'm going to have that chassis bolt, but most of them are in here, so I think it'll survive. Okay, so there's those. That'll get us into the panel. It's a fairly simple version of the circuit. This does not have the tremolo vibrato oh. But take a look at that. That is definitely hand wired. Ain't she pretty? Woohoo! All right. Old school Purdy Vox. We got some. I'll just give a visual inspection here. I don't think we're going to find anything too drastic or anything to be afraid of. I have not seen the inside of one of these before, so it's new to me. Over here we got two, those look like thermistors, probably to prevent the inrush current. Power transformer. We have filter capacitors by a company called Jackson. Is that any good? I don't know. I don't know about Jackson. I know about some of the Japanesium ones and stuff like that. We got little caps, carbon resistors. That's fancy pants. Fancy wire wound heavy resistors there. This is art, man. Somebody was very artful. Now, I consider that I do artful work, but whomever was wiring on this day has done some very artful work. Looks like typical stock components, though. I don't see anything that blows my mind. The caps down here are Hover brand. Hover. I don't know about Hover either. Is that British? I don't know. And of course our tubes are going to be on the other side, so we're going to have to go fish for those. And yeah, we are missing one chassis bolt, but that's the drag about the old school Vox design, is you got to go fishing. I can't just, you know, grab a tube, so we're going to have to drop the chassis to take a look. But again, it's said to not be outputting doodly squat for sound, so obviously nothing's burnt or roasted there. This stuff is stuff. I don't see any jacks that appear necessarily mangled, so we're going to go have a look at tubes. Okay, since this is a UK amp, we'll use our UK English, and I figured y'all would fancy a butcher at the valves. Alright, so fancy a butchers at the valves. We have a GZ34. EL84 times 4, and then we have our Chinesium Ruby ECC83. I'm pretty sure those are all ECC83s. There may be an ECC81. And yes, I'm using all the British ones because it's a British amp. Haha. Whatever. So these are Electro Harmonics. These are Ruby, which is also Chinesium. They all look good visually, but again, looks can be deceiving, so we're going to feed those to the testing machine and see what happens. Okay, continuing the inspection. On our speakers that we have for this, they are, I know you guys are trying to sneak a peek at what that other thing we just zoomed past is. You'll see it soon enough. We're videoing it too. These are 8 ohm greenbacks. But look at them, they're wired in series for a 16 ohm load. But buddy, was running his amplificator with the switch in the 8 ohm position. Can you all see that? It's down in the lower one, 8 ohm position, not right. I know the speakers say 8 ohms on the speaker. See, it says 25 watts, 8 ohms, but they're in series. There's 2 of them. If you have 2 8 ohm speakers, your load is either going to be 4 if they're in parallel, or 16 if they're in series. All the tubes checked out. These particular tube retainers, these spring-load-a-majigs, these are aggravatingly difficult to get on or off without busting tubes. They are just tighter than tight. So we're going to leave them off. All the tubes passed. The power tubes appear balanced. That looks fine. So at this point, I'm going to leave it on 8 ohms and plug in my sacrificial speaker. And then we'll see if it wants to make noise or not. Okay, we're plugged in. And contact. Okay, we have lights. I have the volumes down. And I should be looking for some tube glow. Walk around where I can see it. Let's see, I got some. More. Looks like it down the rows. So that's cool. And I should have a little bit of juice into our sacrificial speaker. And I really don't. Yep. No es bueno. Ooh, hold on. This cliff jack, this jack right here feels knackered. I can't plug anything into this. This feels knackered. So there might be your lunch right there. Because if that jack is knackered, then it would be shorting the output transformer potentially, and that would cause big problems. Okay, so correction. I might be wrong thinking the output jack is knackered, because in itself it looks okay, but there's a foreign object in there. Let's see. Yeah. There is a busted off TRS cable part piece in there. So that no es bueno. Let's see if that helped. Because if this one is, I don't think these work in parallel. I think one's a primary and one's a secondary. So that might be your problem there, mister. Well, that's great. I don't know if I filmed all of that or not, but after removing this obstruction from here, it seems to work. I have adequate power enough to make my little sacrificial speaker jump out of its skin. Our controls seem to do what they're supposed to do. Obviously, before we put this back in the case, we're going to put it back on 16 ohms because that's what those speakers require, and then we'll give it a final test. But I'm going to clean all the jacks and switches here and put the locks back on the tubes. But would one believe that little obstruction in the output jack seems to be the culprit for the amplificator misbehaving. Okay, so this Vox arrived at the shop with inadequate volume. We've got the master at like 30% right now. Yeah, it's loud again. Only thing that sucks is I mentioned those tube retainers are just ridiculously tight. Moving them by hand is nearly impossible, so you kind of have to try to manipulate them with a tube or with a tool. And one of the one of the ECC83s was damaged as a result, so I had to put a new ECC83 in there. But you know, it's not like we lost a rare vintage tube. We lost a standard issue Chinesium ECC83, replaced by a standard stock issue JJ. You know, not the end of the world. But yeah, she's alive and well. It looks like that piece of shrapnel was the problem. Go figure.